It's the cold hard truth. Everyone really want to know what's going on with her show. Just get on the air and you will know it's Sandra. The queen of the mile road is here, helping people from everywhere. Get on the phone and you will hear Sandra. Now she will tell you how it goes, but don't you ever step on her toes, 'cause you will hear the cold hard truth from Sandra. They say she's the hero in town, helping people from all around. You get a call, your money is found, it's Sandra. Some will call her late at night just to say that there is a fight, and she will not just leave it alone. She'll get up and call on the phone, and when politics starts on her show, everyone really wants to know the way the things will really go with Sandra. Some will start to criticize, get on the show and tell pure lies, but soon they will realize it's Sandra. And when they start to argue again, she'll pull the heads to the wind, and soon you will be a friend of Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone wanna hear from Sandra. Every day, everyone wanna hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day, everyone got to hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day, everyone got to hear from Sandra.
Greetings, K-Man. I want to talk to you today about something that has affected our country for decades. The tension between how we build and how we nurture our environment. For too long, this tension that has led to delays, legal battles, and mistrust. The NCFC government does not accept that we have to choose between a thriving economy and a beautiful natural environment. We can have both. That's the whole premise behind a new initiative called K-Man Forward. The status quo isn't working for anyone. Not for those who build, not for those who protect. So this time, we chose to try something different. Over the past 3 months, government and private sector representatives took part in a structured dialogue process, guided by independent policy consultants. It included stakeholder consultation and a full-day summit, producing a report with 9 key findings and 13 recommendations. This week, caucus and cabinet reviewed and approved these recommendations in full. Implementation is phased across 4 timeframes: 30, 60, 180 days, and beyond. Any legislative changes will go through the usual public consultation process. Our immediate focus over the next month is on 4 things. First, establishing START, the Strategic Task Force for Action, Reform, and Transformation, led by my office, to be the overarching body coordinating the delivery of every recommendation of the report. Second, delegating certain planning decisions from the CPA to professional planning officers so routine applications get a faster response. Third, introducing binding timelines for how quickly the National Conservation Council, The Central Planning Authority and the Development Control Board in the sister islands must respond to referrals and applications. No more open-ended waiting. And fourth, requiring that these entities regularly publish their minutes and their reasoning so the public can see how decisions are made. We are also advancing work on an updated National Development Plan, which will come to Parliament later this year. Cayman Forward has given us a clear roadmap for a shared decision framework based on evidence and collaboration. I want to thank everyone who took part. It hasn't always been easy, but people who haven't sat in the same room in years came together in good faith and found common ground. That gives us real hope. I believe we are turning a page, building in Cayman, where we look after our people and our land for this generation and future generations. Thank you, and God bless.
All right, beautiful folks. Happy Thursday or Friday, part one, depending on what kind of vibe you're having this week. Everybody's doing wonderfully, I hope. We are good here in the studio. Got lots to cover as usual. We're going to have some open mic opportunity today so that we can find out a bit more on what is, what's happening with you, what's going on in your lives, what questions you have about the Cayman Islands, maybe even the world, right? So we're going to dig deep into it. Yeah. So yes, still lots going on, some post-World Cup coverage, lots of excitement around that. People still, I see, posting about it. I'm over it already. I'm not that much of a fan where it's going to change my life. I'm certainly not part of the Spain team getting millions of dollars. They don't even know how much each player will get, because did you know, I did not know this, but did you know the US will be taxing, because I guess the final match happened in their country, they'll be taxing the money? I'm like, wait a minute, they're not US citizens. I don't understand. One thing about the US, my aunt always told me this, good old Aunt Lottie. Let me tell you something. She always used to say to me, Sandy, you walk on the sidewalk, you're paying for that privilege. You spit on the sidewalk, you're paying for that privilege. Anything you do in this country, do not for one single minute think that anything does not come with an associated cost. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, was she absolutely right. I can't even comprehend how you can be taxing citizens of another country, but there you go. I read it somewhere, and it was from a really good source. You can't believe everything you read. But apparently it's taxable money. I'm gonna look this up. Hold on. Yep. The thing is, I was trying to figure out the why. How do you justify taxing the winnings? So yes, the World Cup earnings can be taxable in the US if the income is connected to services performed in the US. My God, are you kidding me? Because the IRS generally taxes US source income, they tax it no matter where you earn it. I don't know what they're talking about. Their citizens paid even if it's earned overseas as well. Because the IRS generally taxes US source income earned by non-resident foreign participants, wow. And for many non-employee payments, the default withholdings is 30% of the gross unless a treaty or special rules apply. I wonder if they'll be doing it. Because, maybe Trump, because him and the head guy there at FIFA, not FIFA, what's it called? Is it FIFA? Yeah, could be FIFA. Yes, FIFA. Him and the head guy there are such good friends, and he gave him that little fake prize. So I don't know if he's going to instruct the IRS to let it slide, because, normally there are rules, and then there's a Trump administration. They just make it up as they go along. There are no rules with them. If they feel like doing something, they're going to try it. Then somebody will challenge it legally, and chances are the challenge will be successful. Even what he was trying to do with that fund, remember that fund that he was trying to set up for him and his friends? Courts have ruled, no, you can't do that. He was trying to pay himself. He was trying to sue the IRS. I think that they've now told him, no, you can't do that either. The IRS was going to pay him money in the special fund. They said, nope, you cannot do that. His lawsuit with BBC is now going down the drain as well. Like, he is losing in a bigly way, all these lawsuits and all this money that he was paying out himself. And he has still earned more money than anyone ever in a presidency. And he is actually the king of crypto. No one in the world has earned more money off of crypto than he has since this last term in office. So it's pretty wild. But yes, apparently the key issue is where the services are performed. If an athlete, coach, performer, or even participant, I guess that's, yeah, okay, earns money from matches, appearances, endorsements, or related work done in the US, that income is generally treated as a US source and can be subject to federal tax. Wow. So this can apply to foreign athletes, team personnel, media personnel, Lord have mercy, and businesses providing World Cup related services in the US. It may also apply even if the person is only in the US temporarily. So I wonder logistically how this works though, because is the money going to be paid to them while they're in the US? Like, how do you tax it? Because I would have assumed that, say, okay, Spain won. I'm assuming now they're not giving them a US based check, right? Aren't they going to pay it in their country? Anybody knows how this works? Any tax experts listening to the show this morning? Because I'm a little bit curious about okay, I understand the law, but how does that actually apply in the real world? This is wild. Uncle Sam is like, give me my check first before anybody else gets theirs. All right. Someone's sending me some information. Let me just have a look. Oh, there is one thing I wanted to correct before I forget. And oh Lord have mercy. Okay. All right. Let me see here. I wonder what the real implications are of this. Okay, let's see. So historically, most FIFA World Cup countries have agreed to provide special tax exemptions for FIFA, national federations, and other players. The 2026 World Cup, however, is different because the United States generally does not grant a broad exception for players' World Cup earnings. Ugh, go figure. They sure can't ignore Trump and what taxes he needs to pay, though, but not for these poor guys. Wow. So the United States income earned within the U.S., including portions of World Cup prize money, bonuses, appearance fees, and some endorsement income attributable to U.S. athletes. Well, U.S. activities, sorry. This can also extend to coaches, staff, and referees. Tax treaties may reduce the burden for some countries, but they do not eliminate it in every case. So, wow. I wonder if anybody thought about that when they made the decision to have it in the U.S. even. Yikes. So it says here that this makes the 2026 World Cup one of the first in recent history where many participating teams are expected to face substantial host country tax bills rather than receiving the broad exemptions that had become common at previous tournaments. So they go all the way back to 2010, in South Africa. And pretty much no one since 2010 had, they had 2010 South Africa, 2014 Brazil, 2018 Russia, 2022 Qatar. And then, so they didn't charge any taxes. And now here we are in 2026, and it's expected that the US government will actually charge it. That is unbelievable. Am I the only one who's kind of surprised by that, but not really surprised by that? Yeah. Wowee. Wow. Okay. Yeah, low-key crazy. Morning, folks. Morning, Irvelyn, Damaris, Felicia. So let me make a correction from yesterday, please. At one point, the young lady, there's a little confusion with the dates, because at one point, she was saying something about yesterday or Monday or something. And then I said, oh, but didn't this happen on Friday? And then she said, yeah. But it actually, I want to be very careful. And I want to clarify this on her behalf, quite frankly. This incident that is now in question actually happened on Monday, right? So there's a little bit of confusion about her video and when she put that up, etc. So I just want to be very, very clear here. It actually happened on Monday. So my apologies. I suppose I asked in law what's called a leading question. And, listen, people come on here, they can be nervous. There's a lot of moving elements and stuff going on. So I don't, it's fine. But I think that ultimately, I wanted to correct it. She did message me back and said she was re-listening to it. And so she needed to just ensure that things were as accurate as possible. And so, in fact, it was on Monday, because she goes in Monday, Fridays normally to do her drug testing. So hopefully that clarifies that. I'll post something on social media as well for anyone who may have missed the show today. It was actually Monday that this incident happened. All right. And she's got all her screenshots of everything, of phone calls, of people calling her. And I can tell you that everything lined up. Okay. And that makes sense because, yeah. And in the subsequent story, in the subsequent story, which went up last night, it does accurately say Monday as well. It was during the show yesterday. Like I said, I asked her a bit of a leading question, and then she said yes, and she's like, no, that's not right. It was actually Monday. So there've been lots of thoughts and commentary on both segments of yesterday's show, both equally interesting, but for very different reasons. It is bizarre to me how people think about individuals. And I know that we're human beings and we all judge people. Listen, guilty right here. We all do it. They talk about first impressions. Somebody walks by you with a skirt that's a little bit shorter than your moral compass would think is necessary. And of course, you're going to think certain things about that individual. Let us be honest here. Even where someone is from plays a part in what we think about them. Understand me very, very clearly. These are some of the realities of the world that we live in. We, our brain tends to sort of generalize things. And quite frankly, it helps us navigate the world in a particular way. But it does not mean that that's always the case, right? And it doesn't mean that it's true, even the majority of the times. But a lot of times we surmise and summarize people and, very, very quickly. And that's why the saying, first impressions are lasting impressions is so incredibly true. Yeah. And so sometimes you've got to look at the facts that are before you. And that's what it's so interesting. You know, if you've ever been a juror, I've sat there, I've never been a juror, but I sit there and I listen to the instructions all the time. And that's the balance that the court is always seeking, is to encourage the jurors to look at the evidence before you. Forget what you've heard, you know, about this person. You might have heard a lot in the community about this person, especially if they're, you know, a famous person, popular, you know, put that aside, or infamous or whatever. You know, you got to put that aside and think carefully about what you know of this, not what you know of this person, but the evidence that's going to be presented in court only. And that is the task that all jurors have before them. And it can be difficult to do when you already have an impression of someone, or you think that you know them. Okay. So I saw some of the comments yesterday. I know you guys are very polarized on this already. Some of you have made up your mind. And you know, the funny thing is, I saw some people who had made up their mind based on the comments, and by the end of the show, they were thinking something different. And I said, well, isn't that interesting? You know, you gotta listen. Our objective yesterday was to simply hear this story, try to get to the bottom of the truth, and ask the salient questions surrounding it. Right? We're not the jury here. And ultimately, this may be something that is before a jury. And, you know, I wanted to give the opportunity for her to be heard, but also we have questions as the listeners. And I wanted to ask as many questions as I possibly could to really get to the bottom of this. What is so shocking to me when we talk about things like sexual assault, sexual harassment, there are so many people, women in particular, who have been victimized by others in this area. And yet those same people can sometimes be the ones who are not going to give you the benefit of the doubt, who are going to judge you ever so harshly. And, you know, oh, well, this person dates around, or, you know, they've asked for money for sex before. Like I said, listen to me. I hear you. And that does not change the objectivity of what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say anyone can be a victim. And this is why people will pick certain people, because they think they're easy pickings. Like, oh, who's going to believe her? You know what I'm saying? She has a particular reputation. That's why sometimes people are singled out. Oh, she has had a drug problem. So, you know, that's going to make her character questionable. Happens all the time, folks. People who already have, you know, situations that make them vulnerable. Yes, it might be some of their own decisions in life, but nonetheless, they are compromised. And people will, you know, perpetrators will see them as easy pickings. Oh yeah, you know, I can easily do this to her. No one's going to protect her. Why would they? And so you got to think about that. You can't just make these sweeping and broad assumptions about people just because of their past. It reminds me of a case in Cayman Brack. You know, there was a recent one where a man was supposedly sexually assaulted, and he's an individual who is out there on drugs. So automatically, I don't know, Sandy. I don't know, you know, if he was raped. And I said, well, because he's on drugs, that actually makes him easy prey for people. Let's be honest. So the very thing that you're saying you don't know because he's a drug addict is the very reason that he's actually more vulnerable. And I'm a little bit surprised that people don't see that. Like, to me, it's obvious. And yet there are individuals out there who are like, I don't know, Sandy. I'm like, okay. Right? Yeah. It's an unfortunate situation, no matter how you cut it. And then people, it's like people skipped 1, 2, 3 things to get to the fact that she was asking for money. And that's the major issue here. I'm like, she wouldn't be in a position to ask for money if something didn't go down. So, and she also would not have been in a position to ask for money if the wife didn't call her. Who called who? It's not like she called and made a demand. No, she didn't. So when you think about it, it wasn't her who was even pushing that narrative. And I think she was stupid in the moment for, engaging in any sort of conversation that was like, oh, how can we make this go away? That's when you should have hung up the phone. I mean, the second the wife was calling you, I would have hung up the phone anyway. But I'm just saying, that's a poor decision on her part. But look at all the other poor decisions that were made before we even get to that. And yet some of you were so hyper-focused on that and ignored everything else that came before that, that I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. How is that logical even? Oh. So it is a very unfortunate situation. And I really do believe that the people that need to be sued or that need to give a payout will not even be this man and his family. I mean, those poor children are certainly going to suffer enough. It's going to be the government. The government are the ones who need to pay. Yeah. Yep. I don't him like this or the court. He holds a really good position. What does that mean? The court is supposed to uphold the law and justice no matter who you are. Well, again, we go back to this point that there are people in position of some degree of authority, right? Someone is a bailiff, even the security guards at the court's office, they have a fiduciary duty and an obligation to carry out their duty in a lawful manner. And that has got to be done. And so now this entire thing has caused and called the entire court system into disrepute. And it is very, very unfortunate. I mean to tell you, I'm going to adjust my camera ever so slightly, and there we go. So it is really, really unfortunate. She says here in the chat, all I can say is the cameras inside the testing room will confirm what took place on the corrected date. Well, yes, I mean, we will certainly see. I don't know what kind of defense it is to say that yes. I don't know what a defense it is to say that, oh, she made a bad decision afterwards. She still did not unzip his pants and put his private in her face. I think we can confidently say that that's not what happened. So, as they say, Houston, we got a problem. Morning, Miss Barbara. JCP POV, good morning to you, joining us via YouTube. This person said, good morning. Well, he should have remembered his good position, job/family, when he was doing what he was doing. Horrible situation. This person says, good morning. Your person in your show is to help others and to help and teach others. You want to make the victims comfortable and put their trust in you to talk to you, to help fight this fight with them. I wish some of these abused men would come and talk about their story to know it's okay and best to tell someone. Yeah, there's lots of victims, trust me, that remain silent on all fronts. And once again, I go back to this idea that everyone seems to think that they know how they would react in the event of something happening. And I can tell you that when you're under this, and when we think about it afterwards, we're like, well, that wasn't that dangerous of a situation. Listen, when you're in, I would even say full fight or flight, it's one of those situations where something unexpected happens. Your cognitive response to that can be very, very unexpected. Totally unexpected. And I've been in that situation where I thought, oh, I would have done this, and then I did something else. So many different situations I'm thinking about. Even when, one that comes to mind is when I was accused of stealing that little dog, poor Delilah, AKA Precious. I guess by now she must have passed away because that was such a long time ago. What a sweet little dog, but she was just mistreated. It really broke my heart. The type of family that, she was growing up in. People who didn't really care and have the time for her. But I remember when the owners came to my door and they were like, no, not them. It was more like when the police came talking about, you stole this dog. I was like, what? What are you talking about? And then I was so emotional about the dog itself, like, where you guys are going to take her and put her where? I'm like, you can't, this dog is suffered enough. You can't just throw her in a cage at the animal control. I didn't even know what that looked like. And I was like, please take her medication. Like, there were so many other things that was on my mind that I was like thinking about. It just, I don't know how to explain it. Unless you've been in a situation, and it doesn't have to be of a sexual nature, unless you've been in a situation that has tested you, and in your head, you always thought, if this happens, this is how I'm going to respond. A lot of times that's not how you respond. Right? That's why certain things like when you talk about self-defense, for example, somebody grabs you and tries to kidnap you. You always think, oh, I'm going to fight. You have got to practice, right? This is where self-defense practice and stuff. You have to constantly practice these things for you to have more of a automatic response, right? And sometimes fighting back isn't the thing you do in the moment to save your life. I'm just speaking generally now. Sometimes what you do is you have to play more, depending on the person. You have to be sweeter, calmer. All those things might be what gets you out alive. And your body will often tell you, like, don't fight. This is what you got to do. So it is difficult. If you've never been in a situation like that, I suppose it is very, very difficult for you to understand how people react differently. Everybody reacts differently in different situations. Marshall says, looking at how people will judge you, it's no wonder victims will find it hard to come forward and talk about what they've been through. Very true. Now, the one thing that I do hope, obviously, this young lady has admitted to having some issues with substance abuse and, having traumatic experiences in her life. And she also mentioned having daughters and having children. I really hope that outside of all of this, she's able to get herself together. I understand that she does go to counseling. And, even for just the sake of her children, I really hope that she is able to not have this necessarily set her back. People go through, when you experience something, you also go through different responses to it, right? So you might go from being shocked within the initial, day or hour, or whatever, to then being angry, to then being depressed. I mean, there's so many things I feel like an individual goes through when they've had an unexpected experience, right? And so we can't judge that process. Sorry, my sinuses and stuff. I woke up with a sinus headache this morning, and I can tell because even my eyes are a bit irritated. But yeah, again, we can't tell people how to process what they've gone through or what their reaction should be. And I'm always fascinated about the hyper focus on someone who says that they've been victimized, and we don't hyper focus on the person who did it to them. Like, why would someone do this? Like, to me, right? I struggle with thinking that this is the first time this has ever happened to anybody at the court office. I do not, under any circumstances, believe that. I also struggle with thinking this is the first time that he would have done something like this. You're too comfortable. You were too comfortable. You don't even know somebody and you do this? Do y'all understand how comfortable I would have to be with someone to even think about making any kind of a sexual move on them? And for him to have done this in the manner alleged, let's assume, right? There's no history between these people. You know, obviously you go in there, you develop a little bit of a rapport, going there twice a week and seeing the testers and whatever. But it's just weird. Even when someone goes to pee in a cup, why would that turn you on? Like, what about that do you think is, I don't know. Like, my brain cannot quite understand some elements of this. How do you get turned on at work, first of all? That's just me. I'm just like, what? You not got enough work to do to keep your genitals busy? I mean, not busy like that, but you know what I mean? Like, your brain not thinking about that kind of stuff? And then seeing someone in a bathroom, peeing in a cup, turns y'all on? What? I don't know. I'm just weirded out by the whole thing. Diamond Princess says for years, women have been asking men for money, and most times some of these men won't just give you the money. They want to have their way with the females. In my opinion, women just need to stay away from men like those. They see women as a transaction. You have ladies that go seeking employment, and they're told that for them to get the job, they have to sleep with them for them to get the job. My assumption is that these men have no respect for females. If they did, they would not just, and unfortunately got cut off. But talking about the gist of what it is that you're saying, Diamond Princess, I mean, gosh, I've never been in a position where someone has tried to tell me that in order to get a job, because, you know, I come qualified. You ain't having that kind of conversation with me under no circumstances. I have never needed a job that bad to sleep with anybody or anything of the sort. Ladies, this is why I beg you to please be about your business. Don't ever be dependent on no man in life. Earn your own money. I don't care where you are on the spectrum. Even professional women sometimes find that they don't have enough of an earnings capacity, so that when it comes time, you know, they're getting divorced or whatever, they're having to rely on men, right? Oh, I need that child support from him. I need, you know, because they gave up their jobs to be a stay-at-home mother and all this kind of stuff. No, TD. No. Be financially self-sufficient, right? I am not walking away from any relationship and talking about, if this man leaves me, I can't pay my CUC bill, I can't pay my mortgage, I can't do this, I can't do that. No. I am not making those kind of sacrifices in my life so that then I put myself at a detriment. And there's a lot of women who, you know, sometimes it's because, like I said, they don't have the skills to command a salary, a job, whatever. And some guy comes up to you, you know, here you are in your minimum wage job, and he's like, oh, I'll take care of you. Just have my children and be a stay-at-home mom, and I'll take care of you until the day he doesn't. And then you're stuck. Don't do it. Maintain, get your education, be self-sufficient, be able to know that you can walk away from a situation. And the one thing that is keeping you there is not going to be finances. Because it happens a lot where men are very, very abusive. And unfortunately, they will be able to hold that over your head if you give them the opportunity, the money. So not me, TD. I am so not playing that job with anybody, or that role with anybody. Nope, and no thank you. Mm-hmm. And then, I hear these stories like, oh, yeah, you go to apply for a job. And these men are like, well, if you really want this job, it's like, what? You must do what? Sleep with who? I mean, I guess I'd be shocked if they even suggested it. I'd be like, what are you talking about? Oh my goodness. It is wild. Absolutely wild. And of course, something I was reading the other day about, where did I see that? Let me see if I can find that statement again. That, even the Bible says that we should be teaching, men to be respectful. We as a society, generally speaking, we always put the burden on the woman. Why was she dressed this way? Why was she doing this? Why was she doing that? How about if men, we taught boys and young men to respect women and to never do certain things? Yeah? How about if that was the way that society operated? Put the burden on the person who's actually doing it. Why would you do that? Not why, why is she on drugs? Why does she do that? No, how about why is he putting a woman in that position? That is what we should be teaching people. That's how we should be raising our children. And instead, it seems to be, no, it's like, the woman, the victim, she's the one who always needs to carry the burden of if something happens to her. I don't know. It is pretty wild to me. I forget what the quote is now. I saw it the other day somewhere, and I was thinking to myself, I need to save this because this is something that we often forget. Morning, Andrew. Abby, good morning to you. Miss Barbara says, my hope is that other women will come forward if they too were approached by this man. Here is the thing. We often see this happens where women will remain silent until one person does come forward. And then that gives them the courage to say, you know what, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I was even thinking yesterday about that doctor who was a chiropractor. I guess he's been deported since this incident happened because it's been a number of years. But he was a chiropractor there in Pasadena Place. And he was doing things to women, like taking pictures of them and all kind of stuff and touching them in their privates inappropriately, claiming that it was part of the treatment. And this had been going on for quite some time before somebody came forward. And then when the police kind of put out an all points bulletin about it, then other women came forward as well. And you think to yourself, how can you go to a chiropractic appointment? Again, when we ask these types of questions, we are putting the victim under the microscope. And it's wholly unfair, but this is exactly what happens. Everybody's like, how do you go to a chiropractic appointment and a man is touching you in your vajayjay? And somehow he's able to convince you that that's normal and that that's part of his treatment. No, the question is, how does he think in any world that he could do this to women and was getting away with it for time? It is just absolutely shocking. And men are sometimes victimized and remain silent as well. Someone called me yesterday. He's a man. Sandy, I had a woman inappropriately touch me on my backside in a very disgusting way. And I was young. I was shocked. I didn't know how to respond. There were so many questions. She's older. She's in a position of authority. Good job with government. So he's not going to report that. Plus, men have the added element of being shamed even more because you're a man. What's wrong with you? You know, so what if she touched you? Didn't that turn you on? Are you gay because you didn't like it? I mean, it's like, what on earth? So our little boys are victimized, and then they don't even have, I mean, it's bad enough with women, but little boys definitely don't have an avenue or a safe place for a lot of them to come forward and say, hey, this happened to me. You know? I hear you. Dean says, not giving a man the opportunity to finance me 100%. No way. You gotta hold your you gotta hold your own in this world, unfortunately. Real Michelle, good morning. It says a little discernment, some objectivity, and a touch of common sense reduces the risk of false judgment. Leave the judgment to God and court process. Innocent until proven guilty. Mere mortals take a seat. Everyone in the eyes of the law are innocent until proven otherwise. And that burden is on the prosecution if this becomes a criminal case. But Real Michelle, we do live in a world where things are posted on social media and we, by extension, weigh in on it. That's the world that we live in. So when we see messages, when we see him profusely apologizing, when we see her putting directly to him what he did, and he replies to that with an apology, any logical thinking person, right, could only come to so many conclusions. And so I hear what you're saying. If it gets to court, that's one thing, right? Don't know if it will or not. But for example, when she says the police will be called, and then he asked the question, why? What do you mean, why? You take out your diddly widdly and put it in somebody's face at your job, at the courthouse, and they say the police will be called, and you say, why? Keep in mind that he started the conversation and then he tried to delete a lot of stuff, right? The police will be called, why? Clearly, he does not even think that he did anything wrong when he asked that question. But then a few minutes later says, please don't do that. Why? If you have the audacity to ask the question, why? The only reason you would ask such a question is because you did nothing wrong, right? But you would not then follow up with a, please don't do that. I already apologize. Oh, that's enough? Right? That's enough that you've apologized. Wow. I don't know. I mean, you know, mere mortals take a seat. No, Teresa, Michelle. I think that, you know, mere mortals need to pay attention because I can't accept that other mere mortals have not been in the exact same situation before. And they now need to come forward. So if you have been to the courthouse, folks, and you've been drug tested, regardless of what your history is, yes, you may be a drug addict, you may be whatever, but if this situation has happened to you, I'm asking you to come forward and to go to the police. Make your police report. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning, Anna. How you doing today?
Not bad, dear. How are you?
Yeah, just wanna weigh in on the conversation that is going on. I've been listening from yesterday about that. And for that, what you just said that you don't know if it's gonna go to court?
Well, I mean, I I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure I said that because this is actually a criminal offense. To be clear, right?
Right.
If it
Yeah, I
happened,
don't
that's
know.
definitely a criminal offense. But what I'm saying is, I was a little bit confused as to why he thought the police shouldn't be called.
Yeah, exactly. That goes to court for less things than that. Something like this, and somebody that is working in the court office and on doing something like that, he should lose his job immediately, and it should be the investigation should be expedited to make sure that this is dealt with as quick as possible, so we don't have a situation where we got somebody laid off of their job, getting paid for a year and a half until the court case come up. You know, so there's a lot of that going on too. So
Mm-hmm.
that's it. That they even if this lady had lead him on, just say right, because I'm convinced that that didn't happen. I believe her story. You
Mm-hmm.
know, totally believe the woman's story. She not
Mm-hmm.
lying. I could tell when somebody lying and when somebody not lying. So that woman is telling 100% truth. So even just say, even if she had lead him on, that what he done was unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. So what his conduct is totally unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the situation. Even from the first time that it had happened, where she said that the lady was there too, which you know, the lady could have been the lady could have she was a corporate with him going on and with him doing that in the first place, because she should have what you call it, file a complaint against him, or discipline him or whatever. I don't know who were higher than who, or two of them was equal, but to them in the office, and they're having that kind of conversation with somebody that going there to take their urine test. I mean, that is what kind of people we got working in these
Mm-hmm.
places. And you're absolutely right. That isn't the first time that he done that. You're absolutely right. He done that maybe hundreds of times, and they were trying, in my opinion, just looking at it and hearing the conversation, they were trying to frame our woman. You know, they were trying to frame her. That's what happened, because she should have never been put to go take her urine in the first place. Because sometimes she called her, because I've heard her story had popped up in my on my Facebook feed, and I got little snippets of the story when she was saying that, you know, why she went to jail and things like what she explained yesterday. Something she reported it, and they gone with her, and she reporting something. All they just had to did was check her urine at that specific time when she was clear of urine. They never had to keep her going on a urine test for all these months. You know, they never had to do that. If you call and say, well, somebody, you with somebody, whatever the situation is, just say it, right. Okay, she was in the house, and she was, and the drugs were found in her house. Okay, fine enough. She's saying she admit that she never done it. Okay. If you want to take that situation to court, well, you take that situation.
Well, remember, she did explain.
Yeah, but I'm saying, they could have checked her urine.
No, but remember, hold on a second now. She did explain this, that's why they didn't charge her with actually using it. They charged her with possession, because she had tested. Okay. Yeah, she tested negative, I guess, at that time. However, she also admitted that she has in the past had an issue with drugs. So I think that this is a combination of, okay, we found drugs in the house, right? They decided for whatever reason not to charge the husband with it. Obviously, they believed his story over hers in terms of the possession element of it. Okay, but having said that, I think that you know, if she has struggled with drugs, and she's even had an issue now where she has had a positive test results, and she's been doing the drug test, and that's why now they're going to move her from twice a week to 3 days a week. That situation needs to be sorted out, right? She needs help, and she needs to accept the help, and she needs to try to get clean, and she needs to try to stay clean. Okay. Now, to me, that is separate and apart from what these allegations are. So she could be wrong. And this is what I keep saying is we have to remind ourselves that it is possible for two things to be equally true at the exact same time. So it could be that she's a person who has a drug problem and is struggling with drugs. And that's a fact. And it could also be a fact that what she said happened and how it happened actually happened. Some people don't seem to be able to some people don't seem to be able to juxtapose in their brain how that could be, but one doesn't negate the other one.
It doesn't excuse the situation and what happened. So putting that aside, I mean, I would have based on that story, it wouldn't have been. I don't see grounds for carrying her to do her urine test. But like what she explained yesterday, well, the judge thought it, whatever, that he was trying to help her with the situation and wouldn't hurt. But what I'm saying, she came back with two falls positive, and it wasn't positive. So what kind of situation that was? It was negative and it come back positive 2 times. So what kind of thing is? So they were trying to frame that girl. They were trying to frame that girl and put her in a vulnerable situation. And the situation came out to what part it is, and karma has taken its place, and now the whole system is being exposed for what it is and the type of people that is working in these areas. I know that they got to be doing vetting these people, right? So I don't know what kind of psychological evaluation that takes these people on to do these jobs. You know, so this is the kind of thing that, I mean, you know, that's a serious situation if you look into it. How many times that happened to, and how many women think, and like what you're talking about now, how many women that happened to, how many people that was on drugs that was positive, that proved positive in their urine, and he just wiped it off as negative.
Well, this is a broader question because I don't know enough about how this works, but it seems like the people who are administering the drug tests have the capacity to say if something was negative or positive, and how is that even
exactly?
You know, that is right. Yeah, this is right for abuse.
Or something with some other would have checked that. They got authority right there, right there to make your life.
That's right. Because the implication was that you perform this act, and then if you are positive today, I'll take care of it. And I don't understand how that could be possible. Like, what power do they have over the testing results? Something that adding up, because that should never be the case.
Who are they? Are they police? Are they just
they're court staff? So he works as a bailiff.
Sure. Do they have that kind of capacity or qualifications to do something like that? Just based on I tell you could do that. You should have some kind of other validation that say, well, this person could do that. He's a chemist or some other that checks urine scientifically or something, like what Miss Brenda said yesterday. That should have been going to the hospital. Should have been going to the hospital, a special unit where they get their test, where they do the test. You imagine now that and they got to go to the courthouse to do this. So what kind of thinking that is? The first thing when I heard,
and let me correct. He's a marshal. He's a marshal, not a bailiff. Is there a difference between a marshal and a bailiff?
Okay. Well,
I have to ask, because what's the difference?
I know U.S. marshals are different, but I don't know what the definition of a marshal is.
I mean, normally they're the ones who normally they're the ones who like take the judges around and they sit in court and stuff like that. But what's the bailiff again? I can't remember.
The bailiff is just someone that gives out the summons and stuff that goes to you. Yeah. So so here's the marshal. The definition of it is called a marshal. Yeah, but what I'm saying, when I heard that now, so somebody that taking their urine test now got go to the courthouse, get involved. First of all, there's no parking space to park a car, so that person got to find a parking spot to park her car to go and check, to go and take a urine test. I mean, what kind of thinking that is? That should have been moved to someplace like the hospital or someplace else where the person could go there easy park, in and out, and go on. But you got to go all the way into town, go through go into the court and all that kind of stuff just to do a urine test. I mean, what century we living in? You know, what century we living in? Yeah, so that's my little piece for today. But that's a serious situation.
Yeah.
So everybody, I would wake all it out to them officers, the man and the woman that were there at the time. And they don't tell me that they're not gonna have camera in there now. I hope they don't have. I hope they got camera in there.
Well, I
know
don't.
it can't be in the bathroom, but
You're
it can be
right.
in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, it's a whole heap of corruption that going on, and
Yeah.
you'll be surprised at some of the stuff that happens that goes unreported. So
Yeah.
I hope they get that straightened out.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they get that straightened out. All right then.
Yeah,
Have a
thank
good
you.
day.
Thank you so much. So the test cups have strips on the side, says Island Pearl, that indicate the results right away. We love to talk about, says YouTuber, leaving judgment to God. Judging is a natural human reaction. Believing or disbelieving someone, or even choosing to stay neutral, is based off of making a judgment. Exactly. We use our ability. By the way, some of you would still say your God-given ability, common sense, to make judgments every single day about everything, including situations with people. Miss Brenda says chain of custody, ? Leroy says, yep, the rapid test, about 5 minutes, you're out. Morning, Miss Deborah. Saliva for alcohol, urine for drugs. They've been testing at the courts for years now, never send anything to HSA, and they always depend on the test strips that they use. And I mean, are these tests 100% accurate? How would one potentially play with a test strip? I mean, are there ways to do that? Let's see. Just hopping on, I think it's an instant test. People on testing try different things to modify the test, such as adding water, etc. So try using someone else's urine. So that's why they have to be watched. What an embarrassment, though. Kids, just don't touch drugs. Don't do it. Seriously. Yeah. Oh my goodness. But to be clear, on the day of the incident, which was Monday, she did tests clean. What kind of drugs? Marijuana, I know, can stay in your system for, I think it's at least a week or more. But cocaine, does that come out of your system quickly? I don't know how these things, to be honest, I'm not really an expert in the world of drugs. So forgive me for asking these questions, but I just don't know. But I am a little bit curious about how long does cocaine, if you're using cocaine, and is it the same thing, whatever form it's in? So if you're like, a needle user versus smoking it versus, how else can you use cocaine? You can use needle. Do people use cocaine by needle? Or is it normally snorted? I think cocaine might be smoked as crack and then snorted. They don't use needles for cocaine, right? Oh, Lord, have mercy. Don't ask. I don't even know. Heroin, yes. Heroin, I know, is mostly needling. But you don't get high, I don't think. I don't think the modality, is that the right word? The method of using it for cocaine, I think it's snorting it and smoking, the variation of it, crack. So does it matter how you take it and then how long it stays in your system? Any experts on these things that can share their knowledge with me? I've known the test strips come faulty, so the same urine would be poured into another cup to test again, and sure enough, it would come out with a different result. Oh, cocaine takes 3 months to come out of your system? Oh my. Anthony, sorry, says 3 to 4 days for cocaine in urine, 1 to 2 days in blood. Damien says 3 months. We might have to ask AI about this. Hold on. Let's ask AI how. Hold on. Okay. How long does let's just say cocaine / crack remain detectable? Detectable in your system, and our test strips, our urine test strips, or how accurate, and how accurate ACCURAD are urine test strips. Okay, let's see. Yeah. So 4 to 5 days with alcohol longer. So it's snorted. She says she's never touched crack. Yep, they use another cup to retest the same urine given twice. Twice they had to do it to me, and it was negative on both. So they basically retested her, and then it was negative. This person says exactly, just don't do it. Good morning, CMR. They don't have to be watched. Just search them properly before they go in. So this sounds so humiliating as well, right? So what they do is, based on what was said yesterday, they leave the door open and a woman sits there watching you. I would be, oh my God, I would die from embarrassment. Like, I am so, nope. Yeah. Even in my household, I'm like, give people their space, give them the respect. If you want to use the bathroom, close the door. The only person that can be watching me when I'm using the bathroom is Zeus, because he just doesn't want to leave me sometimes. I'd be like, Zeus, go on. Mom's got to use the bathroom. Go. And he's just sitting there looking at me like, whatever. Lord have mercy. I'm teaching my little daughter, close the door, lock your door, have your privacy. If she walks in, I'm in the bathroom, I'm like, privacy, please. Teaching boundaries. I could not imagine. Brenda says maybe they should consider hiring a nurse or lab tech to take care of the process at the courthouse. All right, so ganja will be in your system for 4 weeks. Damien says 3 days for cocaine in the blood, whether snorted or injected. Do people inject cocaine? I was trying to remember this. Oh, 3 days, not 3 months. He's correcting himself. Anthony says that's why you have to be doing it every 3 days. Oh, because you could time it then where you have a little cocaine and then you say, okay, by Friday, it'll be out of my system kind of thing. Ms. Brenda says ganja can stay in your system for up to 6 weeks. Cocaine stays for days. I don't even know where y'all be getting this stuff from. I want to do a whole series on drugs and Cayman, because I personally have so many questions. Where do y'all get cocaine from? I mean, I know the marijuana is coming in on the little Jamaican canoe boats every week. All right, here's what our trusty AI had to say. Crack and powder cocaine are the same drug for testing purposes. Okay. Both urine tests detect the metabolic benzoyllecanolamine Okay, hold on. This is a new word we're going to learn here today because it's a big one. It's bigly. Let's see how to pronounce it. Let's see. It's a long word. Okay, let's see. Benzo. Hold on. Benzoylecgonine. Benzolecgonine. Benzolecgonine. Okay, hold on. Let's hear another version of it. Hold on. Benzo. The Y is silent, looks like. Oops, hold on one second. Benzo. Hold on. Let's hear it again. Benzolecgonine. Benzolecgonine. There we go. Long word. Anyway, so it says that is what it's testing for. So urine, usually 2 to 4 days after single use, potentially 5 to 10 days or longer with frequent/heavy use. Blood, roughly 12 to 48 hours, it's detectable. Saliva, approximately 1 to 3 days. I wonder why they're not doing a saliva test. I mean, I get it that urine, I guess you get a longer period, 2 to 4 days, but saliva is 1 to 3 days. Hair, about 90 days or longer, depending on hair length. Maybe they need to just start doing a hair sample, but I understand the point is to see if they're actively using it. So I guess for that, urine is considered more of a real-time test, but blood is 12 to 48 hours. And then saliva is 1 to 3 days. So if urine is 2 to 4 days, saliva is 1 to 3 days. I'm also now questioning, why not just do a saliva test? Because then you don't have to go in a bathroom. You don't need to be isolated around people with your private body and all this. You know what I mean? It seems like maybe a saliva test could also be utilized. So it says here that urine test strips are useful, but only provide a preliminary screening result. Accuracy varies by brand, storage, timing, urine dilution, and the strip's cutoff, often 150 or 300 ng/ml. A negative result doesn't completely exclude recent use. Oh, particularly if testing was too early, too late, or the urine was diluted. A positive result should be confirmed by a laboratory using GS/MS or LC/MS before any serious employment, legal, medical, or disciplinary decision. So do they do that at court? If you test positive, do they then confirm it by lab? The FDA specifically advises against taking serious action based solely on a home test kit. And then they talk about FDA guidance and clinical testing information. Also check the instructions carefully. On many competitive drug test strips, 2 lines, even if the test line is faint, means negative, while only the control line means a preliminary positive. The specific kit's directions control. Now I got all kind of questions about even the way in which they're testing. Interesting. Abby says, hello, it's 2026. We have whole body scanners at the airport. Get scanned and then have your privacy issues resolved. Miss Brenda says, read, ask questions. I got a lot of questions now, Miss Brenda. I have a lot of questions. Oh my God. Why is drug testing, says Damien, not a mandatory labor law when being hired, or surprise testing if suspicious? It just isn't in the law. Barbara says, there is one thing that makes me sick. I've seen mental health persons hooked on drugs that someone has purposely gotten them addicted. God knows there can be no lower scumbag than this. So sad. Wow. Very, very sad. People get drugs from drug dealers, says this person. They're like, what do you mean where they get drugs from? I know, but who are the drug dealers? Where are they at? There's a whole underworld we know nothing about. Perhaps you should do an undercover expose on the belly of Cayman, blur people's faces and voices, and purchase some coke. Hold on. Do not make any suggestions that I will be purchasing any drugs. Absolutely not. However, if you are in the world of drugs, I am curious. Let me be careful how I say this. I am a little bit curious about how this works. I mean, I know some people who are on drugs, like I know who they are and stuff like that. Any of you willing to sit down and talk about, there's a guy who has a YouTube channel, I think Atlanta, but I think he travels around a little bit, but mostly in Atlanta. And he goes around to like known areas where drug addicts hang out. And then he'll start interviewing them about why they are like on the streets. What's their drug of choice? I think it's called Atlanta Street something, but he interviews some serious addicts. And the vast majority of these people, when you listen to their story, like he'll ask about their childhood, how was your childhood? Did you have a normal childhood? The vast majority of them were addicts. I mean, the vast majority of the addicts were actually children that were abused, sexually abused. I'm telling you, it's too high to not accept that there's a direct correlation between sexual abuse and people who go on to struggle with mental health issues and drug addiction later on in life. And it's so sad. Some of them really, really sad. And there's one on Facebook too. I can't remember the name of that one. It's a different style though, because this other guy, he just meets them on the street. He'll just be like, and they talk a lot. They talk to him. He interviews them on the street. It's just so interesting how so many of them are willing to share and to really, really open up about their lives. But it's so very sad. This person says you would buy drugs from a drug dealer. They are regular folks, probably selling from his house. My God. This person says cocaine comes from the police. Stop it. Lord have mercy. Oh my God. So this person said, what? People are still doing cocaine in 2026? Wait, what? I don't think it ever really went out of fashion per se. There are worse drugs out there that will kill you quicker, I suppose. Although one instance of cocaine can do you in. There are also heroin addicts. I don't think we have much. I've never heard of anyone here being on heroin. I don't think we have that issue, thank God. And then the fentanyl is out of control. And there are people who take other drugs like what's the pill one? Ecstasy and stuff like that. I think those are more social. Like people think, oh, that's a party drug. It's more socially acceptable to take that stuff. This one says, good morning. The fact that pervert was so brazen to do this at his workplace and court, no less, just shows that he's done this before. And I'm sure we'll try it again. No slap on the wrist, convict him, fine him, fire him, and deport him and his wife to the BRAC to live with Katie. Oh my God. Can y'all please behave? It's not even Friday. Let me pull myself together. Unfortunately, there was a defect when the mail was created. The brain was put in the wrong place. It's in the wrong head. Voidness between the ears. Well, I'm happy to say that not all men, now we can't paint all men with the same brush. So there are some men, and I want to say most men have got to be good that would never think about doing this to a woman, right? Tell me I'm right, please. Although, I don't know. I'm always so with I can't. It's difficult to trust men, I can be honest with you. And then Caribbean men, Spanish men, Latin American, y'all are so carefree with how you think about, sex and access to women and women's rights. And it's atrocious. Ms. Brenda says, I say the right and accurate place to be tested is at the hospital lab. I think they may have to seriously now look at the whole testing issue as well. Good morning, Miss Lucille. What I would ask this young lady to do for herself is, I think you meant to put the word stop in there, stop using drugs and take care of her children. And if she do have people, always use people pass against them. God did not give up, but mankind does it. If she does not control herself, more advantage and liberty is going to be taken of her. Gabby says if there was a mandatory testing in the corporate world, a lot of people would be losing their jobs. Corporate, government jobs. I think we'd be surprised who uses drugs and are still functional. Speaking of drugs, have you guys been following any of the data and research and the reports that have been coming out about marijuana usage and mental health? There's a direct correlation with schizophrenia and marijuana use. I'm not entirely surprised. In fact, when I was reading the latest headline on this, I was thinking to myself, even some of the people that, we hear them calling in the show and we're like, they're off. And then, we kind of joke about it though. But I'm like, we shouldn't be joking about this because the research is now supporting that marijuana, there is a causal link between marijuana usage and mental health issues, particularly schizophrenia, where these people are thinking somebody's out to get them. They're extremely paranoid, And boy, when I saw that headline, I'm like, Lord, this makes so much sense. Even from just a cursory, thinking and review of the people that we know are smokers because they tell us that they're smokers. And then they call into programs and stuff and you hear them talking, you hear their lack of logic and thought process, and you're kind of like, huh. And their conspiracy theories, and I'm just like, huh. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. We're going to have to dig deep into that soon because the research now is there to prove that marijuana use really isn't good for you. Not that I understood why anybody thought that it would be. So maybe on the one hand, you may have some benefits in terms of like pain control for certain types of people and stuff like that. But if it's giving you pain control, but then making you a schizophrenic, does that make any sense to use it? I don't think so. Anthony says even the police stopped random drug testing years ago because they do recruit from jurisdictions whose personal consumption is legal. They only drug test if it appears to be a problem. Isn't that wild though? I mean, I would be drug testing all officers randomly all the time. Underbelly World on YouTube. I think this one is called Atlanta Street something. Hold on. Let me see. Occasionally I watch his videos, but they're very addictive when you start watching them. Speaking of addicts. Atlanta Street Interview. This is the one that I've seen. And you know what is so wild about these people though? All of them have like cash apps. In the States, they have these cash apps where you can quickly send people money. So at the end of the interviews, all of them are like, oh yeah, my cash app ID is, I'm like, how are you going to be a drug addict? And you got cash app where people can send you money. I'm just like, huh? It is wild. Some of them, when they tell you their stories, it's so sad. Some of them had a job. They were functional at one point and stuff. And then something happened and they just, went off the rails. Yeah, this particular one is called Atlanta Street Interviews. I'm sure there are more. This one has over 200,000 subscribers, but there are others. Oh, hold on. Somebody's at the door. Oh, who's this? Hello, good morning.
Good morning. It's Marvin here from Otis Air Conditioning.
Okay. The door's open.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Just prop it open if you need to go back out.
Okay.
And to exit is motion sensor.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe I'm in and out, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just the motion right to the left. Just put your hand in front of that, and that will open it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you too. Oh, I gotta tell you all about that story now. So, so yeah, there's lots of these style things where, you know, they do these interviews. It's just so sad. Marijuana can stay in the hair shaft for up to 6 months. Yeah, well, hair, you know, depending, like they said, on the length of it, your hair is actually a very good way to do toxicology, I feel like, because it tells long term what's been going on. Why Anna love to pick on poor little Katie? Anna no say she's struggling. So is Alfred real? I'm not even going to talk about her. Please, Jesus, offer some deliverance to people this morning. I have nothing to say about her, Alfred. She's struggling because of her own decisions. I think most people realize that, so they don't have a whole lot of sympathy for her. But I ain't got nothing to say. All I'm doing is prepare myself for court, honey child. To be honest, I think the scapegoat of drug addiction was led from sexual abuse previously. That statement is the most abuse comment for leniency from the states and courts. I don't know. I don't think that's a scapegoat, Anthony. I think that a lot of people who are victims of abuse, especially in their childhood, they cope with it by using drugs. I don't think that's a scapegoat. I think that's a coping mechanism. And so as it being a coping mechanism, then, you know, you try to cope with whatever you can, make you forget it, I guess. Abby says cannabis is medicine. Speak about how alcohol is the leading cause of death in Cayman. I don't know that alcohol is the leading cause of death. I mean, alcohol is a drug and it's often consumed and abused just like any other drug for sure. But I do not think it's a leading cause of death, Abby. I think the leading cause of death is, I don't know what, but it's not alcohol. Having said that, you will never hear me say, and in fact, you hear me say the opposite all the time, that alcohol is very, very dangerous for you. It's even one glass is not good for you, despite, you know, some people have gotten into believing that, oh, you know, this research a long time ago about one ingredient in alcohol. Well, you get that from grapes. So just have a grape or something. You don't have to drink alcohol. So I think now the evidence is overwhelming that there's no safe levels of alcohol consumption. And it, in fact, does a lot of different things to your body that's not positive. So I would say, you know, I don't tell y'all to use alcohol. You'll never hear me say, oh, pick alcohol over marijuana or pick marijuana over cocaine. You know, these things are all drugs and you should probably stay away from all of them, quite frankly, in my humblest of opinions. Anthony says, Sandy, you never need research to know that. I knew that as a teenager. People that smoke weed ain't thinking. They buy and consume weed from dealers that handle cocaine too. So the weed is cross-contaminated with cocaine. # don't smoke weed. Even without the cross-contamination, there's something about what marijuana does to the brain itself, right? Even if there is no cross-contamination. Gabby says marijuana induced psychosis. I watched something about it the other day. Cross-contamination causes schizophrenia. No. let me get to the research. Hold on. Because there is good research now on this. So we don't want to be putting misinformation out here, because then there will be people out here who will think that, oh, if I get just good grade clean marijuana, I'm going to be good as long as it's not cross-contaminated. That's not what's going on here. Let me give you a summary, and you can go and read the actual reports, right? The research is there. Cannabis can affect mental health in mixed ways, but the strongest evidence points to risk rather than benefit for conditions like psychosis, bipolar symptoms, and suicidal thoughts, especially with frequent or high THC use. For anxiety and depression, the evidence for benefit is weak. And it's so funny because a lot of people think, and this is one of those like placebo type things, where a lot of people believe that they smoke a little spliff and it helps them relax and it helps them with depression and whatever. They'll tell you, oh, I smoke because of my mental health benefits. And yet psychosis, bipolar symptoms, and suicidal thoughts, the more you use. Okay. The evidence for anxiety and depression is weak. And this is where I think people who believe it calms them, it is a placebo effect. You believe it, then you're going to feel calm. Yeah? All right. Some studies suggest that symptoms can worsen, or that people may use cannabis because they're already struggling with these symptoms. So yes, there are obviously people with mental health issues who will use. So what the evidence says: psychosis. Cannabis use is associated with a higher risk of psychosis, and the risk is stronger when use starts younger and is more frequent. And we know this because the brain is still developing. So the younger you are, you start using as a teenager, the more you're going to have issues like schizophrenia, psychosis, and so on. So parents, this is why you need to be paying attention to what your young people are actually doing and what they're consuming, right? They don't have any protection. The brain isn't fully developed till 25 plus. So the younger they use it, the more of an impact it will have on the brain. Bipolar disorder and mania. So frequent use is linked to worse mania symptoms and a higher risk of bipolar related problems. Depression and anxiety. Research does not show reliable therapeutic benefits for treating these conditions, and some evidence links use to higher rates of depression and anxiety. Suicide risk. Cannabis use is associated with suicidal thoughts, attempts, and suicide in studies. So who is at most risk? The biggest concern are adolescents, young adults, and people with a personal or family history of psychosis, bipolar disorder, a substance use disorder. High THC products appear especially concerning because THC is the main psychoactive ingredient, and heavier exposure is tied to greater mental health risk. All right. So if the question is whether marijuana is a good treatment for mental health. Hello. Good morning.
Hi. Morning, Miss Nastasia.
Yes. Yeah, but he's actually off island. Okay, let me. All right. Yeah. Yes, please. I'll send him a. Oh, Lord, have mercy. I'll message him right now. Yeah, I'm just in the middle of my show. Well, I'm in the middle of the show, so call me after 11 o'clock. Okay, dear. Thanks. All right. Bye-bye. Okay. All right. Okay. I will send that urgent message. So, yes. So if the question is whether marijuana is a good treatment for mental health problems, the current evidence says no for most people, and clinicians are advised to warn patients that about the possible harm. And the safest framing is that cannabis may temporarily feel calm for some users, but it can worsen anxiety, trigger paranoia, or increase long-term psychiatric risk. Morning, Miss Alba. Schizophrenia is a mental health disease. It's not caused or brought on by marijuana, says Miss Brenda. However, science shows that people are predisposed to mental well. Miss Brenda, I'm going to tell you that is not what the research is showing. So am I going to take your word for it or the researchers? Let me get you the research. Marijuana use. Let me find the exact study. Okay. Yale University, Yale School of Medicine versus Miss Brenda. National Library of Medicine. So there's lots of research here. I'll share the links for you guys. Please go read on it. Sorry, I will acquiesce to the professional research as opposed to what any of you think. No insult intended, but it is what it is. There is a direct link. And here's this one again, Yale School of Medicine. The link between cannabis and its effects on mental health, particularly schizophrenia, continues to spark debate. While many tout marijuana's calming effects, particularly in online forums, mental health experts caution against its use, especially among young people. Research increasingly reveals a concerning relationship between cannabis use and psychotic disorders like schizophrenia. Right? And then they go into the cannabis schizophrenia link, and it has nothing to do with those people who already have it. I shouldn't say nothing, but it's not about people who already have it then using the drug, right? Cannabis can disrupt brain development and lead to conditions like schizophrenia, a severe mental illness characterized by long-term hallucinations, delusions, and paranoia. A Finnish study with cannabis-induced psychosis. So if there's an actual, it's called cannabis-induced. So it doesn't mean that you already had it. It's actually induced and brought on by the cannabis use. So cannabis use psychosis found that nearly 50% were later diagnosed with schizophrenia. And that study, and then other studies confirm that regular use, especially of high potency products, increases the risk of developing schizophrenia by 4 times. You can't, no, you can't deny this kind of study. I'll send you, I'll post this Yale School of Medicine one here for you as well. Go read it. We can't talk about we want data-driven decisions, and then when we give you data-driven data, you all choose to ignore it. No. Anthony says, come on. The leading cause of death in these islands comes from too much turtle meat, which leads to cardiovascular disease. Try to leave alcohol alone. Well, alcohol isn't good for you, Anthony. It destroys your liver, it destroys your kidney, it destroys every single organ. But I mean, I know the leading cause is definitely heart attacks, which probably 80% is lifestyle, which does include the diet, which may include the turtle meat and all the fast food and everything else. Morning, Tiffany. So listen, you guys just heard the guy there. Anthony, leave it alone, leave it alone. That's right, Tiffany. That's the bottom line. Don't do drugs. That includes alcohol, smoking, vaping. None of this stuff is healthy for you. And all those things are bad for your heart too. Yeah. Heart, liver, every organ is impacted negatively by drug use. So just live a clean life. What's the big deal with drugs? Why do y'all need drugs? What's going on? Isn't CMR drug enough for you? Be addicted to CMR, not drugs, not hardcore drugs. All right, so listen, you just heard an AC company ringing the doorbell there at the office. And I want to talk a little bit about CUC. So I have an electric bill at my office, and I'm not really there that often. Nobody's there right now, that I would consider way too high, exorbitant. Okay. And when I say exorbitant, nobody ain't there, and it's like $1,000 bill now with the fuel increase. Ooh, you know, my little heart is like tripping out because I got my bill at home. Now I got one at the office for $1,000 and nobody's there. So I'm looking at this bill going, why is my bill so high? Now, here's the difference between me and some of you. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. So I'm not here thinking to myself that CUC is stealing from me. I mean, that's the least path of resistance. They're a thief. They're stealing from me. And I see so many people online. I'm just like, oh my God. So I know that we've done some of what we could. It is an older building. So there's only so much you can do with older buildings as well. The building itself is not energy efficient. It's windows all the way around, and that attracts heat through the windows. So what we did was we tinted the windows. And I mean, immediately upon tinting the windows, I could physically feel the difference standing in a room than previously to tinting it. It's amazing. Get your windows tinted, folks. Even on your cars, tint your windows within regulation. It helps. They have clear UV protected tint, whatever. So we got the windows tinted. Then we put in blinds. That helps another layer as well. We did some foam spraying up at the top before we took out the drop down ceiling, because with these drop down ceilings, you know, you got seepage of air coming from the unit above, the unit below, all kind of foolishness. So we tried to seal that off as well. And I still got myself $1,000 CUC bill this last bill. So I said to myself, Lord God, everybody know the little dollars, the little dimes don't stretch, right? So I said, okay. I contacted CUC. I said, I think we have a problem and I would like an audit for my location. Now, some of you complain about a CUC bill, and when CUC contacts you and says, okay, let's go through your bill, let's see if we can figure out what's going on, you guys refuse their help, which I don't understand this. You complain just for the sake of complaining and to be heard, but when they reach out and they're legit trying to help you, you refuse it. This is where I can't, you know, y'all talking about I'm defending CUC. No. I'm defending the truth. Do you know how many people get on these forums like Women in Cayman and they talk about how they got a $1,500 bill, they got a $1,000 bill, but then they don't tell you that is including an old bill that they haven't paid, or they're on a payment plan with CUC. They don't be telling y'all the truth. Oh, I'm paying CUC every little bit every month. I'm on a payment plan. And you know, it's like, why are y'all so dishonest? It's dishonest to talk about how high your bill is and you don't give the facts. And you know what? I realize of all of them, and I sit here and watch them in the women's group, they refuse to show the portion of the bill that demonstrates the consumption. Why is that? Huh? Why? So I don't have anything to fear. Let me tell y'all something. Hold on. Let me show you the bill now. Right? And it has gone up. I think the one before that was like $700, and then it went up to $1,000. I'm thinking my issue with it is that there's nobody there. That's why I'm like, what? What going on? So I contacted CUC and I said, I think we have a problem here. Can I request an audit? Yes, you may. So the CUC guy came out and he looked around, did a visual, and he said, okay, we have to do this now by process of elimination. I said, all right, I'm trying to find my last CUC bill so I can show y'all. Process of elimination. So I said, okay, no problem. He said, I need you to turn off And we got the Emporia at the office. Remember the same Emporia system? Marlon's got the refrigerator plugged into it, like some of the big things, right? He said, I need you to turn off your air conditioning unit. So I said, okay, we can do that. We're going to turn off the air conditioning unit for at least 8 hours. So I said, all right, let me just see if this is the bill for that location. Yes. Yep. $1,089.08. The consumption energy charge was for 2,802 kilowatts at 15 cents. Now, this that's at 15 cents. The fuel cost, which is $546 out of the $1,000, so more than half of it, is actually hold on one second. That's the fuel cost. So again, that fuel is what actually sends up your bill. It is absolutely ridiculous what we're paying in fuel, but who controls the cost of fuel? Go talk to the world leaders who are causing wars that push up the fuel cost. All right. So hold on one second now. Let me just so anyway, they then said to me, let me tell you what the report showed. Because he said, okay, we're going to turn off the air conditioning unit, and I want to see what happens when that isn't on. So we're not going to go to the breaker and just turn everything off quite yet. We're going to turn that off, and then we're going to make an assessment after that. So I said, all right, turn it off for at least 8 hours. I turned it off for over 24 hours because I'm like, I want you to make sure you can read everything properly and you can see everything properly. And here was the actual analysis. Listen to this. You guys are going to be shocked by this, all right? So first of all, but before we get to the analysis of that, the bill itself, my consumption, was over 30 days. It is using the equivalent of 93.4 kilowatt per day. And when someone isn't there, you have to ask yourself, what is using that? There's no computers really that are connected yet. We have a server room with a rack, nothing overcomplicated there. We have an ice machine constantly making the good ice. Yes, I guess that's in use. You know, when I go there a couple hours for the week, I drop the AC temperature. Like I'm not turning it off when I leave because I don't want it to overheat because of the server room, but I'm keeping it at 80. And I am also, I'm just hardly ever there. So when I go there now, I drop it down to about 76, 75 degrees for the couple hours a week that I'm there. Okay. So continuous electricity load of approximately 3.9 kilowatt running 24 hours a day, right? Here's the funny thing. I'm gonna show you guys something, right? This is so, can I just tell you all how AI is so incredibly interesting in terms of how it analyzes something, right? So I want to show you what the audit guy said to me and then what my little AI tool has said. So this is what he said. Big shout out to CUC. Morning, Sandra. After reviewing the data, I can confirm that the AC unit is the main source of the high electricity consumption. The good news is that the meter appears to be supplying power only to your unit on that floor. Because I mean, you always have to worry, like, is somebody actually connected to my, you have questions about that. That's not what's going on here. So again, nobody's stealing power from anybody. When the AC was turned off, the average electricity usage was approximately 0.2 kilowatt hours. Listen to me carefully. 0.2. When the AC was running, consumption increased to about 2.6. Alfred and other mathematicians around, do the conversion for me and what percentage increase that is going from 0.2 to 2.6. I mean, I could just ask AI as well. What percentage increase is it from 0.2 to 2.6? kilowatt hours. Okay. She'll tell me in a jiffy. Based on these findings, I suspect the AC unit's age is contributing to poor energy efficiency, causing it to consume significantly more electricity than a newer system would. And I would recommend encouraging an upgrade to a more energy efficient unit in the future. All right. So that's their findings. So of course I had to bring it up with the strata. I'm like, help me out here because, you know, I soon pay for an AC unit at this rate. And I'm going to tell y'all because they have to change that. And after they change it, I'm going to tell you what inefficient AC units can be doing to you. Now look at the analysis. Oops. Look at the analysis from our AI assistant this morning. I've given it a copy of the bill, right? So they can see, and this is just this is only one bill. Imagine what it could tell me over time. Use these tools because they're available to you. So the effective current cost is approximately 38.9 cents per kilowatt hour, including the facilities charge. So that's everything, fuel, facility charge. This is what AI has just said. The main concern, now listen to what it says to me. A consumption level of 2,802 kilowatt hours is substantial. I would say, especially since I ain't even there, right? Depending on the billing period, it averages roughly 93.4 kilowatts per day over 30 days. A continuous electrical load of approximately 3.9 kilowatt hours running 24 hours a day. That level is consistent, listen to this, that level is consistent with a large air conditioning system or other significant equipment operating continuously, not a vacant, largely unused unit. There's also an unusual discrepancy worth querying. Most usage-related charges are calculated using 2,802 kilowatt per hour, but the license and regulatory fees is less. That's fine. They're saying that this might be a billing tier calculation exemption. So, you know, CUC can explain that. I'm not concerned about that little $25 bill portion of the bill, right? Based on the bill, the defective or ineffective air conditioning system identified during CUC's inspection could absolutely account for much of the unusually high consumption. The strongest question for strata management is who is responsible for repairing or replacing the system and covering losses caused by a defective in-strata controlled equipment. Even, my point here is that even AI recognizes that that's a high load, and what is causing it has to be an air conditioning system that is not operating optimally at all, right? Here's what they go on to say based on the message that I gave them. They said, when the AC is off, reported demand was approximately 0.2. With the AC run, it increased approximately 2.6. The AC therefore added roughly 2.4 to the measured demand, about 92% of the load observed while it was operating. So in other words, 92% of my CUC bill right now for my office space is for air conditioning. And that's me keeping it at 80 degrees most of the time because I'm not there. Imagine when people start to use that space and we're there 12 hours out of the day, 15 hours out of the day, you understand how that's going to go up. Wow. This is crazy. One single inefficient unit trying to cool 2,300 square feet. And if it's not doing it well, that's what you're paying for. People, I want to encourage you to get your things like air conditioning units looked at carefully. Do you know that you can oversize a unit for the space and that is not good? Because some people think bigger is better. So if I get a bigger AC unit, that's going to be good, right? But if it's too big, you're still paying more in electricity for absolutely no reason at all. When you start shopping around for air conditioning units, folks, know what you're shopping around for. Speak to the experts. And the experts are not necessarily Uh-oh, we got some generator thieves here. Oh gosh. The experts are not necessarily the people who are trying to sell you the AC units. So, yes, I'm just saying. All right, caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
I know you deliberately left me hanging, okay? But let me start out by saying, I feel like the pig that the stone hit this morning. So let's just get to that straight away. The other day when I called and spoke about my light bill, and let me just say, I stand by my position. You obviously asked someone at CUC to do an audit for me. No one reached out to me to ask me any questions. I was written something by someone at CUC. In a nutshell, nothing was wrong. The bill was correct. Well, I responded to them with the response that deserved. In 2 lines, I wasn't expecting to hear anything different. I didn't reach out to you. Obviously, someone did it on my behalf, and I'm still asking for an explanation as to how my light bill could have doubled when I wasn't here. By your story just now, you just proved if you're not using it, then it should reduce. However, I believe the UC alone. Unfortunately, everything in my house works by electricity. So I guess whatever they want to charge me, if I don't want to stumble around in the darkness, I'm going to have to pay them. Or better yet, I can have them send you the bill. And since you keep advertising about tinting windows, then send your tint guy to me. But make sure you pay him before he comes. Okay? and my car is already tinted. My car is already tinted. I don't live in my car, so that don't have to be. And I don't complain about my car. I'm happy with my little Japanese car. Takes me where I need to go and keeps me cool. But like I said, I didn't expect CUC or any utility companies to accept that something could be wrong. I mean, there was a time when I had to actually shut my water off, and it's been shut off for years because they didn't want to accept that something might be wrong with their meter also. But they recognized when the meter was turned off, then they wanted me to pay for them to check the meter. I said, whose meter is it? I'm paying you rent for it. Is it yours? Shouldn't you be checking it? So I got a letter one day advising me that meter number so-and-so at this address has now been changed to meter so-and-so. Okay? They're trying to recognize that I wasn't using it anymore. I have a big cistern. I don't need Water Authority's water. And I'm certainly not going to be paying them for what I'm not using. I would have had it as a backup. I don't need it. So they can keep their water and they overrated bills. And you go to them, they have the same attitude. I've never actually called the UC and questioned them about my light bill. I can read my light bill, and if there's something on it I don't understand, I know people I can ask. Am I reading this correctly? And so on. And I will go back to where I started. If I'm here, anybody else is here, stuff is being used, rooms are being utilized. Yes, I expect to have a hefty light bill or what I would consider one that is proportionate with the usage. But if I am not here, if no one is here, I do not expect my light bill to increase and be twice the amount of the previous one. So they can explain that to me and anybody else that might have had that.
Well, the good news is we are actually going to be sitting down with them to go over some bills, and they will be explaining it. I think this week, so we probably will air that maybe next week. But yes,
explaining how they charge people doesn't explain.
No. Well, listen.
They're all aware of how they're
This is what I would.
People are not happy with is the amount.
Okay, this is what I would recommend, right? We have one young lady who's going to do it, and I will put this out there publicly for anyone who wants to have this done. Give us 6 months worth of bills so that we can analyze the usage, because you need a broader period of time to be able to see certain patterns, right? Because weather obviously impacts how hard your AC unit works and other things considerably. So we can analyze it from that perspective, right? The other thing that we can do is this Emporia system that I keep telling people to get, because there's only two possibilities when it comes to usage. Either something is happening illegally that is increasing your usage, and if you don't have someone tapping into your meter or tapping into your utility plugs, like we had the guy there in town doing that from other people, so he's basically stealing electricity from his neighbors. If that isn't happening, and if there's not a billing error that is occurring, then we need to look at the actual usage. Like I said, I can't complain about my usage because I know I'm using it. It's not me questioning if I'm using it. We have the Emporia system, and the Emporia system tells me that what CUC says I'm using kilowatt for the month is actually what I'm using. So I have independent verification that my usage is accurate. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, Ms. Brenda and other people who are listening, that when people say, well, I travel, I go away, I do this, that's because during those months, other things are happening. There's a single and easy way to ensure that your usage aligns with what you think when you travel and when you go away. You pull the breaker, turn it off completely. If you pull that breaker and you turned it off, your expectations will be met when you get the next CUC bill. But if you're not, the things that are using electricity, your refrigerator, the AC unit, right? I was speaking to a young lady. She's going to be one of the bills that we're going to be analyzing. She was saying,
stop right there. If the AC is turned off, the only thing that is left plugged in is the fridge. Again, I say, explain to me how the light will increase.
Okay, tell me, what kind of water heater do you have? Is it electric or gas?
It's the water, not gas, the electrical one. But that gets unplugged also. Like I said, the only thing that is left plugged in is the fridge.
And your actual usage went up? Your kilowatt usage, not the total bill, but the actual usage.
I'm not looking at the bill right now. I've paid it already.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm not going to argue with them. You don't have a case here because they'll cut you off, and I'm not about to stumble around.
No, but I'm curious about the
It's what I pay, whether I'm happy about it or not. My question still remains: if I am not here, how does it increase?
Well, it increases. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that
everything, the bottom line increased. Okay?
Yeah. Well, we need to actually look at the bill, because you said the bottom line increased, but does that mean that the kilowatt usage?
I mean the total. The total
bill amount.
If the usage is fluctuating depending on how much you're using,
yeah,
and I would say my bill should have been less.
Not if the fuel factor has gone up. Not if this is what I'm telling you. But
let us assume that went up, which we know it has gone up, but nobody's here using anything. Then the usage shouldn't go up either.
Well, you just said the total went up. That's what I was trying to find out.
I said the total amount.
The total amount.
We just refer to it as our light bill, right? And I'm saying mine doubled. And
all right, but what?
Here.
Okay,
what? Top that once I returned and I got the next bill, then that had increased by $60+. Now you can understand that, usage is going on, but not when you're not around and no one is doing anything.
Miss,
unless somebody has moved into my house while I'm gone. I don't know.
No, I don't think that's going on either. But let me say this. Okay. Would you be willing? I mean, this is a serious question now, right? Would you be willing to let me have a look at 6 months of your bills? Now here, I'm going to put a challenge on the table for you. If we cannot, and then I want you to tell me during that time, okay, I was not here this period, whatever, so we can look at the consumption because we need to look at the details, right? If I cannot logically explain what by just looking at the bill, not even getting to an audit stage yet, right? Just looking at the bill, if I cannot logically explain what is going on with those bills, right? I mean, within reason, I will pay your next CUC bill for you. Accept that challenge.
Paying one bill is you have
No.
to
No.
hold on. Hold on.
Yes.
You have to look at any bill that I might have stacked.
No,
up.
but we want to look at it over a period of time.
No, I'm serious now. You're happy to look at them.
Yes.
You don't have to pay any bills for me for looking at them. But my question has still not been answered, and it's a reasonable question.
Yeah, but this is what we're trying to get to. We have to answer. All right, but we want to get to answering it, because that is how the only way we can get to answering that question is if we can actually analyze a few bills. So that's what I'm suggesting. Let me look at bills. And then, I'm going to put this challenge. As a matter of fact, I saw someone who was complaining in the women's group, right? And people always say, oh, I haven't done anything differently this month. And I think to myself, how can you say that? There's never any 2 months that you can say nothing has changed. Everything is the same. Because if that was the case, your usage would be the exact same amount. And I've never seen a bill where the usage from 1 month, the kilowatt usage from 1 month to the next is exactly the same. It fluctuates based on a lot of different factors. And I was even thinking about this person, because this person was away having surgery for some of that time. They were in the hospital. They weren't home when they were talking about the lower bills, right? Now they're back home. Kids have returned from university. There's lots of things with the limited knowledge that I know about their household. There were a lot of things in my mind that I was like, well, that would explain increase in their kilowatt hour usage. But once again, they never showed that portion of the bill. All they did was said it went from this amount to this amount with no details. All I'm trying to say is that the devil is in the details when it comes to those CUC bills. And they are the only utility company, and in fact, the only company in Cayman that when you do business with them, they do give you a full breakdown so that you yourself can then see exactly what you're being charged for fuel, what you're being charged for your actual usage, et cetera, et cetera. So I know that there has to be a logical explanation. And of course, I would need to ask you certain details, like from what dates you were gone, what portion of time. And then CUC can actually, even if you did a login and you went into your account, you can see on those days the difference of how much your usage dropped versus the days that you were actually back from overseas and at home. And that information, if that information doesn't jive with your travel schedule, then we know something is off. But if you're up for the challenge, Ms. Brenda, I say let's do it.
Sandra, if I may speak now, I'm going to respond to you, but I want to respond to one of your listeners and commenters on there.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that what's the sense of speaking to me because I'm not giving you a chance to speak. I would suggest that cockroaches, they're a foul fight, okay? I didn't call her. I'm not having a discussion with her. I think I have, let me speak, please. I think I've given you every opportunity to cut me off and speak, and I've stopped and I've listened. And I'm going back to my original question. Perhaps not being understood, or it's not, you don't want to understand what I'm saying. I don't know. And I'm going to say it again. If I am here, people are here, stuff is being used, I am not going to say anything. It's not like I'm sitting down checking a meter and so on and going over. It's being used. I expect it to go up or at least to be at the same thing. But when it's not being used, then I don't expect it to go up, and especially to be twice the amount. So I would suggest that that person pay attention to their light bill, pay attention to their business. If they want to call and argue with you, call and argue with you. But don't say that I am not giving you a chance to speak, because that's not what happened here this morning. And I don't appreciate that. Okay? You
Yeah,
don't know me, but I know her.
Miss Brenda, I don't even know why you're sitting here reading the comments. I mean, you and I having a conversation. I'm not even reading the
Exactly,
comments.
but I do pay attention. See, I can multitask also.
Lord have mercy.
Okay? I'm not brain dead. I am
Well,
not brain dead. Newsflash, I'm not brain dead.
I'm not multitasking because I'm trying to focus on exactly what it is that you're saying. But anyway, all right, listen. If you're willing to do that, right, where we can actually look at it, and I know for a fact that, have you ever utilized any of the online services with the CUC Connect?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
All right. Let's have a more. This is all I'm suggesting.
Like I said, I have no fight with CUC. Everything in my house is electric, so I have to pay the bill if I want to.
No, but I think that,
and while we are all overpaying, I think there are many that are in my situation. If they don't pay, they're going to get cut off. But I don't.
Well, everybody. I mean,
something.
listen. I don't know of anybody who cannot pay except in Cayman Brac. Apparently, you can run up a $6,400 bill in Cayman Brac and then not get cut off. But everybody else.
Surprisingly, there are a lot of people who don't pay CUC, but they don't get cut off. Okay?
Well, I don't know.
They live in different zip codes than I do.
Well, must be me too, because I mean, I have to pay my bill, or I'll be getting cut off as well.
Seamless flow.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No,
they'll cut off the little man, but the people are on thousands of dollars. All they do is they make sure they figure out a way to charge us some more, so they're getting paid for those bills that don't get paid. But they don't talk about that.
So
that's all that's happening, you know. And the rest of the Caribbean islands, you know, we are the suckers for everywhere else. This is where the cash cow is. So we have to pay for the shortfall of where they're losing everywhere else, and then anything else they're dabbling into. But anyway, as I said, I have no problem showing you my light bill, and I'm sure that you know that there are people right in my family that can sit down and explain that to me, and that has been done before. So I'm not going to tell you or anyone I'm an expert, but I can certainly look at something and figure out the basics. And if I'm not sure, I know who to ask. Okay?
All right. So let's talk off air about how we can get that and perhaps do a little bit of a deeper dive, because I think we need to look at things like the overall kilowatt usage for the period, but then also the individual days, right? Because if you're not here and you're not traveling, the kilowatt usage for those days will actually reflect that. And if it doesn't accurately reflect that, then obviously there's an issue. All right, Miss Brenda, thank you very much.
Sandra, before you go, Lulu says no, that I've hogged up. I'm too rude and that I'm hogging up the show.
Oh, Lord.
Well, she has the same prerogative that I do. She can call the show and she can have her time, whatever amount of time you choose to give her. And if she thinks that I'm rude, then that's her problem. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't know her and she doesn't know me. And if she thinks I'm rude, then maybe I should introduce myself to her and then she can see how rude I can really get. Anyway, have a great day.
All right. Okay, so I'm just logging in. Customer Connect is temporarily unavailable. Hold on now, CUC. I need y'all to fix this. Because one of the things I want y'all to know how to do, and I think we can certainly go through this, is how to utilize the tools such as Customer Connect. So let me just send them this message because I'm getting an error message to say that that's unavailable. Let's go through and teach ourselves how to use these tools and what these tools will actually demonstrate and show us in real time, okay? We're gonna do that. The other thing that I want to say is, let me just see here now. Yep. Okay. The other thing that I want to say is, I mean, I'm happy to show, I'm not asking y'all to do something that I'm not willing to do. I'm happy to show my bills and what I pay, and you can see it creeping. But again, for me, the devil is in the details, right? Let me give you this snapshot, but I'm going to go through this in more detail. And I'm going to do a whole show on this to explain how this works. So here's billing. This is, I think, my residential. Let me double check, because I have multiple bills with CUC, multiple locations. This does change. So I have 4 bills that I now get with CUC. So I believe this is for my house. Yes. Okay. And you can see it fluctuating. The thing that you can't see when you just look at the total numbers, and this is why I want to encourage you to not just look at the total number, but to actually look at the details, right? If I picked out these bills and I show you the details, you'll see that some months, even my solar, not some months, every single month, my solar amount that I'm paying actually fluctuates for that specific bill. So this is why 1 month I'm getting a solar credit of $311.74. Another month, it's a different amount of solar credit, and that impacts my bill. So everything is based on the overall energy usage, the kilowatt hours, right? I get a certain amount for my core credit, which is my solar panels. Fuel is calculated at the rate that they paid for at that particular time. Here's another thing. Somebody said to me this weekend, I'm not going to call any names, that CUC actually utilizes and sources their fuel from the most expensive option there is. And I said, really? Why the hell would CUC do that? Why would CUC go out of their way to buy the most expensive fuel? But they said, I'm telling you for a fact that this is what CUC does. I said, okay. You know who can confirm that or deny that? OFREG. Because CUC has to provide OFREG with basically a tally of what it is that they are purchasing in terms of fuel. So they need to say, we purchase this total amount of fuel for this period of time, right? They also need to provide reports from the actual engines, the generators themselves, on what they use in fuel. And then they compare that to what you're being charged, because CUC says we use 1.5 million. I don't know. I'm just going to throw this number out there. This is nowhere. I'm not saying this is accurate. I'm just throwing out a number for the sake of a number, right? Say that they say our engines use 1.5 million tons of fuel in this 30-day period. We charged our customers for 2.5 million tons. They can't do that. They have someone at OFREG who sits there and does the calculations. If you said your engines use 1.5 million tons of fuel, we needed to see 1.5 million tons minus 1 to 2%, because there's always a small margin of error, being charged to the consumers. If there's any larger than that variance, OFREG needs to understand why that is. So you have an independent body who is sitting there confirming that what CUC claims they use even for the fuel factor is what they're actually billing the customers for, and not a cent more in terms of what they paid and no more in terms of usage. What other industry in Cayman has that degree of what we call it, oversight? Nobody. So I'm just saying, be fair. If you have that degree of oversight from, listen, who else gonna come and take your, okay, this what I'm doing. How much did you buy fuel for? Show us the receipts. See the receipts, yeah? This is my my Amazon receipt. This is me customs the other day when I come into customs. Show me the receipt. See? All the details here. This is what basically CUC has to do. Give OFREG the receipts. Okay? Then give us the reports from what your engines are using. They give them the reports. And they sit there and they tabulate and they calculate to make sure that there's no error. So your reports from your engines aren't saying why, and then you only purchase this much fuel, and there's no discrepancy. Who else does that? I mean, given the amount of oversight that they have, just think about it for a second. How can you really say that these people are robbing you? Robbing you how? That's my question. How are they robbing you? And I have yet to find anybody who can actually tell me how they are robbing you. So these broad statements. And like I said, the people who work CUC are our husbands, or brothers, or sisters, or cousins. You actually believe that your own Caymanian people are sitting there robbing you? The shareholders are by and large Caymanians. I wish I had some shares in CUC, but I don't. Wasn't that smart enough at the time. So you mean to tell me your own people robbing you? That's what you actually believe? I know. Listen, what is the Whitaker guy name there? I can't remember his first name now. Jennifer's husband. That Graham's what his name is? Graham Rankin's brother. He works CUC. I'm just thinking of some of the guys I know, right? We have Nichelle works CUC, Shamari's wife. Forget about Joey's brother. Okay, we're not even gonna go up that high. Just come down. We have Sasha that works CUC. One of my little friend that works in customer service. My cousin Raymond Barnes works CUC. Y'all really think that I can sit down here and believe that my cousin know that CUC robbing me, and he can continue to work for this company? Robbing his own mother? His senior mother, who's in her 80s now, is a senior and she has to pay a CUC bill? You guys are asking when you make these, Michael don't work there no more? Since when? He retired a while? But regardless, right? What I'm saying is 80-something+ % of the people who work there are Caymanians. And so we are really to believe that our own people, because they work in the engine rooms, they're the engineers, they work in the billing department, they work in every facet of the organization. I try to remember who else were there. Tons of Caymanians. I can't remember all the names now, right? Y'all actually want me to believe that these are the people who are taking advantage of me and you with our utility bill? I gave you a simple example this morning. I know that the bill at the office and the usage at the office is too much. Right? How can that be? I need to find a logical explanation, but my assumption or the conclusion that I'm going to come to isn't just that these people are robbing me. That don't make no sense. My husband has installed the Emporia system at the office. We can run reports to see what appliances are pulling what. And you cannot say that when you go away, that nothing is being used in a house where stuff is plugged in, because everything that is plugged in has the potential to even pull some residual power. Oh, it's only the refrigerator. Okay. How much is your refrigerator pulling per month in kilowatt hours? You don't know that. Some of you have older electronic devices, older refrigerator, and so forth, and they're not energy efficient. But you know how you could know? Hold on a second. All you have to do, let me go and see if I can get the login for the Emporia system. Because all you have to do is get this Emporia system that I keep telling you guys about. You log into the website. Let me see here if I can log in. Normally Marlon's the one who monitors this. And it's even telling you in real time exactly what is in use. And let's see here now if I can get logged in. Hold on. I think he gave me the login before. Let me just double check. And it tells you in real time what exactly is using what. There are things that are using electricity that you're not even cognizant or aware of. Let me just see here. Trying to get where's my login? Oh, here we go. Oh Lord. Here we go. Okay. Let me just forward this to myself here now. So I can log in and we're going to tell you in real time what's using it right now. Yeah. Hold on, honey chill. Give me 1 second. Like I said, I need evidence. I need data. I'm not a person that's sitting here believing in any kind of conspiracy. If you show me the evidence, you can't draw conclusions just because of how you feel. That's not research. That's not, facts. That's not figures. That's a feeling. And despite my best efforts, I'm not that psychic. Okay. Hold on. No, I don't want any notifications from you. Okay. So let me show you how good this system is. This, in my opinion, is a small investment, and I would recommend it. I feel like it's worth it, right? So here we go. Right? What I'm using from the grid, the office. You see here. Now, how I can then argue with this, right? These are the facts. You can see peak hours, the graph. They got all kind of different ways for you to look at it. How can I argue with CUC when I have independent verification of what is actually going on with my usage in my house? The AC data room, the office, my computer, the this, the that, all the information is here. I can't argue if CUC says this is what it is and I can come in here and pull a report for the month that confirms exactly what was being used. Who am I arguing with? You understand? Come on, this is all I'm saying. Monthly 50-minute peak demand. Here's all my devices that I have on here. We got the front porch, water cooler, the refrigerator, even the compost that we use, that one's unplugged, the wine chiller, master bedroom charging station. Why is my ice machine not on? And water heater. So we got to check because certain things are there, but they don't seem to be plugged in. Entertainment center, the washer, the dryer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this is what my computer uses a lot, as you can see, a lot. Data room PCs uses a lot, double from what my computer, that makes sense. Data room storage devices, the data room rack. When we had the Tesla, we got rid of the Tesla because I was sick and tired of them. Morning, caller.
Oh yeah, good morning, Sandy.
Morning, dear.
Interesting topic.
Look at how much. Hold on 1 second. When I look at the month, right? Look at how much my washer is using for the month, as opposed to any other appliance. Well, the data room. Forget about the data room because that's a lot, right? That I use a lot, of course. That's a whole stack of computers. So when you look at the data room PCs, the data room storage and PC, the data room rack, the data room devices, all that is a lot right there, as you can well see. But then look comparatively speaking to other things, look at how much my washer is using. That seems high. We got the washer, the refrigerator is also high. And this is in line with what one CUC says to us. It's those big appliances, washer, dryer, refrigerator, air conditioning unit. When we look at those things, and again, this data here, clearly there's a correlation between what CUC does tell you tends to pull a lot and what this report is actually giving me. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah. As I was saying, the situation is one that it seems, while CUC provides, super service, and if you check the rest of the Caribbean, you have blackouts here. I mean, I think it's not a case of, that comes into question, and I guess the better services is, the more you got to pay for it. Look like that's and everything. And this light, quality-wise, you pay more for it, which is, reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, the summer months has historically always been when you see seems to have raised the bills because of their, their generators and then having to overwork and consume more fuel. Thus, the fuel cost goes up. That's one of the deciding factors in one's bill.
Mm-hmm.
So, having said that, I think it would have been very prudent of the government
Mm-hmm.
to be sensitive to these times and try to, it would have been good if they could have, moved time, say, when the months get cooler,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like everybody's not killed and buried in the same place for the summer months. If they could have pushed that back. But then again, I hear the talks of revenue, how much money is needed.
Sorry, say that for me again, that the government should do what?
I feel the government, one of the only ways I see of getting relief in that, if the government could put an initiative where they push, forward the rates, like rather than the summertime, say, hold up, CUC, let's wait till it gets cooler, maybe in the, in the winter months, then if there's such a thing, further down toward the end of the year, if that could have been, something as an option, because it's the summer months historically that they burn more fuel, which is obligatory, which is, an incredible part of extreme of your light bill, your electrical bill is the fuel cost. So could have that been pushed further forward rather than making the big increase, now as it is in the fuel consumption? Because the generators definitely will work harder during the heat, when it's more humid and it's more hot. So I don't know if I'm making any sense here in that sense. But
so you're saying you mean their contractual increase that they are entitled to and that they get. You're saying make that be something that happens during the cooler months?
I'm just saying find a way within fuel consumption. Yeah, I know the word.
Within fuel consumption. But the fuel consumption, they don't control the fuel consumption. I mean, this is why people say the part of this that makes logical sense that you got to do something about is our reliance on fossil fuels to begin with, right?
I agree, but we can't wake up one morning, Sandra, and get that done.
I understand that. So what is it?
Who feels it knows it. It's the here and now.
Yeah, but I'm still not understanding what your solution is, though.
What I am saying is not CUC like that, because if they're hedging fuel, right? I don't know how that process is.
Yeah, I think we need to get them to explain that again, because here's what I know. When this person said to me over the weekend that they're buying the most expensive fuel, right? I did reach out.
Believe that, no.
No, it's not true. And the person also said that they're buying it they're purchasing from the local providers here, for the most part.
Yeah. That's what it is.
How are they gonna control that? I don't know.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The only other option, unless someone got a better one, then they better speak up before I hold their peace. What I am saying is that the government The government, we could have had it pushed forward if the summer months is the months that is more consumption, that is actually your kilowatt hours rises because of the heat, the intense heat. Wouldn't been some way that they could have pushed it forward rather than getting the rates, so in the same time that it's so high, couldn't they have pushed it forward when the months is cooler to make, I don't know if I'm making any sense. It's just, I guess a desperate man with clutch out a straw, drowning man would say, but at the same time though, it's options. I mean, the government did give something, but I think that was more of a token gesture. That really not gonna show up. A few dollars here and there, not gonna really save anybody money.
Okay, let's back up, because this was explained again, and I'll be honest that I did not fully understand the relief that the government was offering. So the government is offering relief in two ways right now. Okay, so let's break this down, because I think this is important to understand. Number one, they are basically waiving the fuel factor. Their the duty on the fuel. So they charge a duty, and that's what you see on this bill that's on my screen. Government fuel duty on my bill for this period here, this is a March bill, was $36.15. So they're waiving that. So per person, the government fuel duty isn't really that much, because it's a fraction of what you pay for the fuel. So theirs is 0.013824. I mean, the other thing that is so interesting here, caller, is when people look at this, they're not even rounding up, This shows you the transparency in this bill, right? They do not, most people say, round it up to the nearest cent or dollar, whatever. You notice how this goes 6 digits out? That's why I tell people there's not a more transparent bill that you can show me anywhere in Cayman. They're not even rounding it up for people to say, boy, you rounding it up against us. And that one little penny adds up. Because that's what people would do. That's what people would do. They're not even doing that. So the government fuel factor is 0.013824. And in dollar amount now, that is $36.15. So the government has waived that. By the way, it don't get waived from me because I have solar panels. So government has to be sensible, and they have to be fiscally minded. And I gotta be honest with you, I didn't know this till last week that I wasn't getting the benefit. So government is saying, look, if you have solar panels, Sandra Hill and other people like you're in a better position than most, because I'm already saving over $300 thanks to my solar panels. So government not gonna help me out. They're gonna help the people who need it the most, which includes the people who do not have solar panels. Fair enough. I'm not gonna argue. I mean, I feel a way about it, but I'm not gonna argue about it, right? Because the underlying.
So you say it's not across the board. It's not across the board.
No. If you have solar panels, you're not getting this government relief. Now,
yeah, which
I can understand it. I'm not arguing with it. I'm not arguing with it. I'm just informing people, because a lot of people like myself didn't know that until I started to look at the details of my bill, and I go, wait a minute. And then CUC actually told me, they're like, no, you're not getting it. And I'm like, really? And I go back and look at my bill, and I said, sure enough, I'm still paying it. But $36.15, like I said, this is from March. They're not gonna break nobody's bank, I would say, right? But that is what government fuel duty is for this particular bill that I'm looking at. Now, let's look at what really I'm paying for, okay? So I have $355.64. That is my usage with CUC at their rate. So when you think about it, that is where their profit and everything else, that is the money that is not a pass-through. That is what CUC is getting.
Yeah, it's the fuel cost. Of course,
it is the fuel.
And
$390 on this bill was fuel, more than what I would pay CUC. So if I didn't have to pay fuel, my bill would have been $355 minus $311 from my core credit, which is what, $40-something that I would have to pay. And then you add on the other incidentals Obviously, if you don't have fuel, you wouldn't have government fuel. You wouldn't have fuel costs. So even if you add in renewable energy, I would basically have like $100 bill. It is that fuel that makes my bill $500 instead of $100.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. If there was any particular way, I think that would be probably one of the only ways, if you could find a way, to decrease, what the fuel, charges would be.
But how do you do that when you can only buy fuel for a particular point in time?
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, I know, but I mean, there were suggestions of them hedging when the barrels of oil was a lot cheaper too, and we don't know if that ever happened. But at the same time, it's the here and now that is concerned. It's like it's like I said, who feels it knows it.
Yeah.
And the crush is on because fuel has this trickle down effect that everything gonna go up. Think about fossils and then when they got these freezers with these 240 wires running into it. They got to pass it on, or they probably can't stay in business because they got to make some profit. It's not just doing it for charity. All things considered, but at the same time, I'm just saying that I would thought that there could be a way, and if that's not then it's like all we can say is heaven help us all. But
yeah, and I mean, and the other thing as well, caller, that we need to be cognizant of, right, is the whole year, not just the summer months, but the whole year, because of global warming, is getting hotter and hotter again.
Exactly.
So our solution not even gonna be able to help us say just during the summer months. It's gonna be all year long. What a mess.
Yeah, really beat us on. I mean, yeah,
listen. We need to utilize what we have, which is the sun.
Sunshine.
Yep. That solar is a game changer. So I'm all for large scale solar. Bring it on, honey child.
Yeah. But we're talking years away from
I know. But had we started earlier, we wouldn't have been talking years ago. We would have been talking the here and now.
And I was listening very interestingly to Miss Dukaran yesterday, and in some of her assessments. You can just plainly see where governments have really failed in the past.
Yes.
All you need to look just superficially. Let's look at this. One road to East End, one road to West Bay. Now, what is going to cost with all of the developments now to even get in alternative routes?
Yeah.
There was an accident that happened down at Vista Del Mar where I think it was a Filipino lady getting off, going to her work, and she was struck by a bus or something, and she was killed. And the whole day, no traffic could go east, none could come west. That is unacceptable. Suppose something had happened serious in West Bay where you had someone or someone's with something urgent to get to the hospital or whatever. The only thing else would have been waterways. And I'm thinking that maybe it may sound a bit kind of primitive, but I think what we also should have an alternative route by ferry, because it's obviously these roads going to take a long time, if ever, and very costly. You think Cayman is expensive. Now, who do you think pays for that kind of thing?
We all do, me and you.
Yeah. You see, and the governments of the past have really failed, I mean, miserably.
Yep.
Honestly. You can't say anything else. I wish I never had to be so critical, but it is, the fact is that it's almost now to make amends now. It's so costly and some near impossible.
And it was my concern as well, caller, with the what's it called? The recyclable oh Lord, what's it called?
You talk about that for the garbage? You mean?
Yeah. The fact that last government, the fact that last government pulled the plug on it, I'm just like, show me in what world we ever get something for less 10, 15, 20 years later. It's going to cost the people even more money. So they're complaining about the cost being exorbitant. Meanwhile, the proposal was going to be rolled out over like a 25-year period of time, right? So that was the cost. Right. When you saw Chris Saunders jumping up, thumping on his chest about the cost of it, that was the overall cost over 25 years. He probably not even be alive in 25 years. Yeah. But yet trying to fool the people into, oh, we're going to be paying $1 billion right now and we can't afford it. But they could afford that school in Cayman Brack that we're building for children that don't even exist. Yeah. I mean, we have to really be
priorities.
Yeah, and pull sense from nonsense and stop allowing these political individuals to play football with these issues that impact our lives. Right? Every single time that dump goes on fire. And we have to breathe in that toxic fumes. And Georgetown Primary School has to shut down because those poor children, right? The people down by courts, off of Eastern Avenue. Oh, you got to lock your windows, lock your doors. Fumes, you can't keep fumes out of your house, though. You do know that. It'll seep through the smallest little crack.
And even when it's not ignited, the main route from visitors who's coming to that and for this experience that we have marketed for the setup, they're crossing the place where, it's sometimes, do you smell? I mean, it's almost, I've been down at Kirk's there and bought food that I couldn't practice from the deli, that I couldn't eat on the spot, which I was hungry and I was just looking at quick snack. And I just couldn't do it because of the scent, you know what I'm saying? And remember, the thing is that methane, there's no way that you can really stop. You can cap it, but it's going to keep coming because methane going to ignite sooner or later in some form of fashion. And when it's getting so much out of control that, that I'm just wondering if there's any other alternative to the point. I mean, you'd have thought that being right there, it would have been his best interest. And he, he has the funds, he has a way that he could have actually probably, rectify that.
Well, but, I mean, listen, whatever,
for Christ's sake, right next
I know, whatever rectifying has happened, it was the DART group, the conglomerate group that was actually doing it. And then all of that was brought to halt and stopped because of the government. They were doing remediation work and capping stuff off and fixing stuff, The government then canceled it and they had to stop. And now the government has to pay them money because they breached and broke the contract.
Because it seemed like that they had better alternatives, such as maybe one of their friends to actually to remedy.
Yeah.
This contract.
It's just, my dear.
Let me just say this.
Yes. Sir.
Let me just say this in closing. Where it might seem, and when I think about, because politics has come into everything, unfortunately. They say if you don't get in politics, politics get into you. And when I think about it, okay, we build the Westminster system and whatever. No, this is not the sound that I don't appreciate where we live and the system we have, because it's a whole lot better than what's out there. There's also been 115 probably different nationalities here for some reason. That's because, they found peace and harmony. And it's strange for people to assemble in such a condensed place, 79 square miles, and you got so many people and we don't have the conflict, or, the actually discrimination that, we do. I mean, maybe a small percentage, but nothing like it is elsewhere. So having said that, though, I think what Cayman really needs, you got a lot of people out there that are here making calls and trying to make contributions and all like that, right? But it needs a set, because actually, what a backbench, what an opposition is a government in waiting. You agree? Am I correct in saying that?
Say that again for me. Yeah, the government in waiting, which is opposition.
The backbench, the backbench, the opposition then per se. It is a government in waiting.
Well, they might be waiting for a long time, but yeah.
Yeah. But not necessarily. Tomorrow isn't promised to anyone. What I am saying is that system, what I think that is lacking, and a lot of other places has it, is a bunch, let me just use then, a group of people with like-minded wives for the best interests, concerns. No no conflict, no vendettas would be tolerated. But you need a group of like-minded people to challenge and make suggestions and bring to God and hold them more accountable. They are such as a watchdog committee to have on record what was suggested, what was done. Now, yeah, you elect governments and, you give them, all the power. You designate what for them to do. And that's a customary thing. The government couldn't please everybody. We wouldn't get anything done. Every suggestion they couldn't address. But I think you need a group of people, and other places has it, like you have, concerned citizens per se, for the betterment and make suggestions that could hold governments more accountability. Because in this democratic, they say democracy ain't so democratic in Sandra. And in many instances, you'll see that, right? But at the same time, the main word that's missing in all of our development, all of how we have evolved, is accountability. No one seems to be taking care of that. Everybody would just, on the end of the term, and of the day, you're right away in the sunset. You're like a bunch of new people. You're almost changing the players to play the same game. Not saying that this government has really hit the ground running to the point that they have become more proactive than reactive per se. And Kima needed that, someone to really per se grab the bull by the horns, and they not got everything right for sure. And because of the monster that was created here a long, long time ago, we got to keep feeding that monster almost. Think of all the people that have mortgages, whatever. How you got make a civil service smaller? You think the politicians don't know all of this? We got to try to find balance there, right? And it's not easy to try. If someone got 10 children, a mother got 10 children, it's difficult for her to treat everyone equally, which that should be, that should be the ultimate. But it probably never is. Someone, because of the fragility or whatever, will get more. You understand? So all things considered on this, but I'm just saying, I think we should definitely have that per se in core. And that would hold people more accountable, because right now, you strengthen numbers per se, but if I call in, next person call in, John, it's not the same. We're just giving an opinion, but it doesn't hold that much water per se.
Yeah.
Some people may agree, some people might disagree. But if you have a core that is out there pretty much, I don't really know the full extent of what district councils, what role would they have played.
Well, we don't know either. But the one concern I have, I gotta tell you the truth now, right? The one concern I have about district council is the cost of a district council.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What is it? What we gonna pay? What do you mean who gonna pay?
But yes,
we always
I know
pay.
That. It's a trickle-down effect. Yeah, even
and our lives going to be any more efficient because of district councils? Or is that going to just be another layer of bureaucracy yet again?
Yes, and it's one thing leads to the next. Every time you speak, it's something that hinges onto that. Like all right. Well, thank you. That you can never get to them.
Yeah, thank you, my darling.
They are isolated.
I appreciate it. Leave me there.
Yeah, we catch up.
Okay,
thanks. All the best. Sure.
All right. So someone is just messaging me now. I gotta go because I think that this is agriculture department. It is at my door. And I want them to spray for that mealy bug. Not mealy bug, what's it called? Swirly bug thing, because I have them on my trees and I don't want to mess up my mango tree because she did so good this year. I need her to produce again next year. Let me tell you, I'm looking forward to next year's mango season. So I think that's them. I think that's agriculture. I'm peeping out the window. Definitely some government people. So I need to go talk to them because I want to make sure they're spraying and stuff for these bugs. So the one thing I wanted to say, though, and we can pick up on this part of the conversation tomorrow, is someone just messaged me saying, have you checked the ticket fares with Cayman Airways? They're astronomical. I said, of course they are. You know what fuel is doing to the airline industry right now? Who is that at the front door? No, but who are they? Is that agriculture department? Oh, mosquito. Oh, okay. All right. I was hoping it was agriculture. All right. Thanks. No, it's not. I got to email the agriculture people because I need income to treat my trees for me. But yes, they said that they called to get some quotes on tickets. It's same thing, same reason why your CUC bill is why your ticket price has gone up. Fuel. Some airlines right now are even cutting routes and eliminating routes completely because they can't afford it. Fuel. Thanks, Donald Trump. Thanks for the Iran war to make all of our lives even that much more expensive. Let's pick up the conversation tomorrow. Yeah, Anthony, I go to Tampa month end, but shall I use my credits? I had me 21,000 miles on my frequent flyer plan. Make sure y'all sign up for that. And so I got myself a free ticket. Actually, Gianna had more miles than I did. I'm not sure how, but anyway, they shouldn't find no standing water around here. But anyway, oil tops $100 as Red Sea attack significantly escalates conflict. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, I'm so sick and tired of this war already that has ended about 50 times, but still hasn't ended. But yeah, buckle up, folks. What did it say? Pucker up, buttercup. I mean, this is just a friggin' hot mess. Anyway, let's pick up the conversation tomorrow, folks. Y'all have a wonderful day, and we'll be back. And I guess we're going to have to talk about fuel because it is ridiculous. Absolutely. All right. Have a good one. Get to work because we all got to be twerking and working to earn some extra money. Don't do anything illegal, folks. Trust and believe me. You need that little job now. Keep your job.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.